So this is Baruch Fleischman, and I'm back at the wheels here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and today is the 6th day of the week of Parshas Vayachi. We find ourselves on page Tav Kuf Yud. So this is the day of Yesod. Everything is falling in today, getting ready for Shabbos. Come down to the bottom of the page. As we do, we read the Matok Medavash. Is the light print. The Zohar is the large black print. So we go like this. The Zohar says like this. Rabbi Cheskia Pasuk Vam Rabbi Cheskia began, and he spoke like this, and he said, V'hi Hashemesh Lavo, and the sun started to set. V'tardema naflo Avram, and a deep sleep fell on Avram. V'hine emech hashecha gedoda nofelasalav, and a tremendous amount of fear, pure fear, fell upon him. Hai Kwal Muha. Now, this pasuk has been explained other places in the Zohar. Now the Zohar comes and says, Aval Tochazi, come and see now. Hai Yoma the Dinakasha Ihu. This day that we're talking about, the day of the Dinakasha, when the Tardema comes and this deep sleep falls. Yom Zeh Sha'alav Ne'amar Ve'hi. This is where you see this phrase, V'hi Hashemesh Levo, and the sun was setting. Hu Yom Din Akasha, this is the day of deep din. The Afke Lay Lebar Nash Mahai Alma, this is the day that a man will be leaving this world, that soul will be leaving. Shemotziim Es Adam Ezel Oilam, the Sanya, we learn like this. Hahu Yoma Debar Nash, Nafek Mahai Alma, Osach Yom Sha'adam Yotzim Ezel Oilam, the day of his death. Hahu Yoma the Din Rabbah. This is great din, the day of great din on this person. V'eschashek Shemsha Min Sichra, and the sun darkens itself. In other words, it stops shining on the moon. The nechshap on the nechshach hashemesh min yareach, because this causes the sun to become darkened, no longer shines. Kama dechsev is written like this: Adar shelo sechshach hashemesh, from the time that the shemesh stops. In other words, it becomes before the time that the sun completely and totally becomes dark. Pirush da nishmas kadisha. So we're talking about what is the sun that we are talking about before it goes dim. Zecha neshama kedusha nikras shemesh. This refers to the neshama, which we call shemesh defi shemeira b'sel haguf hanikir yareach, which is called yareach. Now let me just pull out this drawing here, and I want to point something out to you, that the word yareach, which is the word for moon, is also the word reach, which is the word fragrance. So we've been going through this in different kinds of ways. So now we see that the fragrance is going bad because it does not get the light from the sun. Now I just want to bring you back to two different ideas, and let's look at it again. Not that one, this one. These are what is the right word? The fracturing of light is fractured into 5 different parts. Reading from the light right to the left, the most physical part of light is called Nefesh, and becoming less physical as we go to the left is the Ruach, and then the Neshama. Now, these first 3 are not we're going to think about the last 2, but just talking about the first 3 actually enter into our universe and into ourselves. So what we're talking about is the fact, what he's just about to say now, or what he has said, is that normally the sun, which is represented by the third nun, the second nun, or whichever the third letter, which is a nun which represents the word neshama. It's written down below. This neshama is panimi, meaning it shines into the concept of ruach. And the ruach itself shines into the concept of nefesh. Now in addition, the concept of neshama is also linked to the concept of the Olam Habriya, and Ruach is linked to the concept of Olam Yetzira, and Nefesh is linked to the concept of Asiya, those worlds. So these are called the lights of those worlds, but all of them come into us, and this is what we're beginning to describe now as a person begins to leave the world. Let's go back and take a look at it again. So he says, let me see if I can find the place. So let's go on this word, the Ischashek Shimsha Min Sihra. that the sun stops shining into the moon. So now he explains the nechshab Hashem ben Yereach, the sun stops shining into the moon. Kama dechsiv, like it's written like this: Ad asher lo techshach hashemesh, before the sun goes down. Pirush da nishmas kedusha. Now, what are we talking about? We're calling about the concept of neshama. Zuha neshama kedusha. This is the holy neshama. Hanikra shemesh. In this metaphor, it's called the sun. Lefi shemeira besoch haguf hanikra yereach, because it shines into the body, and in this case, which is called the moon. This menas mibar nash tlasim yom ad lo yipok ma'alma. Now the chiddush that he wants to say is shemenaz min haguf, that the light of the sun shining into the body begins to diminish 30 days before a person's patira, before the time the person is excused from this world. 30 days yom terem shiyatzim min ha'olam, before the person leaves this world. So he says, the Zohar goes on and it says, Vahaku hu tzulma de'is benas b'nei v'lo yischaze. Now this requires another look, but let's read out the words before we can look at it again. So he says, V'zehu so histalchus atzelim. This is the concept of the histalchus of the tzelim. Shem nimnam is asher nimnam, which is starting to be held back from the person, b'menu, Shloshim Yom Kodem Petiraso, 30 days before the man leaves this world, Ve'ena Nira Od B'Tzeil Halavona, and is not seen further the shade on the moon. Now, this concept of Tzelem really means image. We see like the Tzelem Elokem. But the fact is that Tzelem is really also a part of this concept called Kol Soma. So Kol Soma refers to all the levushim, the garments that cover over the final aleph, which represents or light. So you have these garments. The garment that immediately covers the light is called the moach. Then there's a garment that covers the moach, which is called a tzelem. Another garment that covers the tzelem and the moach and the or is called the levush. And then finally they rest in a kli, in the kalim. So this is the concept when he mentions the tzelem. He means to say that this tzelem, this part of the wrapping, is starting to disappear. In other words, the light, that's this or here, is leaving the body. So let's go back on and let's see what else the Matok Medavash has to say. So he says, let me read from this place right here. He said, V'hahul suma dis menaz minei v'lo yischaze. So this tzelem we're talking about is the beginning of the garments that cover over the light of the neshama. So that are held back from the person and start becoming dimmer 30 days before the person leaves the world. And they're no longer seen in the shade or the shadow of the moon. My time is menaz minay. So what was the reason why it takes 30 days and it starts becoming dimmer and dimmer and dimmer? He said, begin the nishbesach kadisha salka v'sa'avaras minay. And the reason why is because this is the time, the visha neshama, because the neshama is leaving. Also, it's going out. The nistalko mimenu the gamri, leaving the person completely. Let's read a little bit more. So he said, the lo tema, we're right here. The lo tema the kadmis, bar nash vis chalish. You shouldn't say like this, shalo tomer, shebishah sha'adam omed lemos. So the time that a person right at the border between life and death. The guvar nachlosh gufo, and his body's become so weak that he's tilting now to leave the world. Oz chai nishmas is a varas minay. What happens then is Zohar Neshama mistalakas minay. This Shama starts to leave the person. Elakad ihu b'chayev b'tukvei v'sa'aver b'decha b'behind nishmasa. So he said, but this doesn't start just like that. It doesn't start like between one moment and the next, his Neshama's gone. Ela kashuhu b'chayev, when he's alive, b'kocho, and he's strong, he's walking around. Then it begins mistalekas mimenach on neshama the gamri. That's as the neshama completely starts to leave the person. So what it is, the sun then stops shining into the body, which is, he calls the Ruach. Ruach, this goes again, the sun, he says here, is really Neshama, which is Olam Abriya, or Ima, or Abina, shining into the Ruach, which is Zer Anpin. If Zer Anpin has no lights, then it doesn't shine into the Nefesh, which is in the lower part, which is Olam Asiyah. V'shuv eino meir l'charuach v'charuach eino meir l'nefesh. So the chain of shining stops. So then that garment, which is called the tzelem, it leaves the person and no longer shines in him. It doesn't shine into him either. At that moment, the whole universe is announcing or making pronouncements about this person. Why? Or what does it mean? What does that metaphor mean? Everything is crying about this person. Even the birds that are flying up above in the air of the heaven, that the time has come. All these are making pronouncements about this person. In other words, the heavens are singing. My time, what's the reason? They're all announcing out or calling out about him. Because now it's become a quiet place. The Neshama has left the person, and the Ruach is no longer shining into the Nefesh. Because they see that his son, his Neshama, is no longer shining on him. It's leaving. Or maybe it's left. And there's no Ruach to shine into the Nefesh. So the possibility of Yichud and elevation is leaving. And all the food, v'kol taivas aguf, and all the appetites of the body, mistalkos v'ovros v'mana, they leave him, they pass away from him. This is the Zohar here for the 6th day. I want to bring it back to you again, and let's just take these last 2 letters out, if I can. Let's see, I haven't got it on the right page, so let me put something else over it. Hello? We're talking about these 3 letters. These 3 letters on the Neran, reading from the left to the right, the Neshama inside of the Ruach, and inside of the Ruach is and the Ruach is inside of the Nefesh. So this is a chain of shining. When the Neshama no longer has light in it, he's saying that it takes 30 days, but during that period of time, the light diminishes and no longer shines into the Nefesh, which is what keeps the body alive, and then the person is nifter. This is Baruch Fleischman at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.